Hey everybody, Todd's Corner here. I got some special guests today, and but first this. Howdy. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna introduce my guest. Well, here's my sidekick and good buddy, Mr. Gordon Moriguchi.
Yes, I'm the sidekick. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing?
I'm Batman. He's Robin. Sometimes we
Okay.
switch. Okay. Sometimes I let him be Batman. And then here's our special guest, Mr. Bill George, the legendary Bill George.
Oh boy. Okay. If you say so, Todd.
A lot of people say so. Hey, you know what? I read that. So it's in writing.
It must be true then.
Absolutely. I believe it. So welcome, Bill, to Todd's Corner. This is really special for us. I love the work you've done, and the more I look into your past and what you've done, it's amazing. Like I said when we were talking earlier, there's some of the shows I would have never guessed that you had worked on, but all shows that I liked, and they
that's
worked
good.
well. So hey,
great. Well, thank you, Todd. You're very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. So for you followers out there, looks like we got 21 already. I did have a little glitch while I was trying to get you guys on. For some reason, Facebook wasn't clicked, so I had to kind of do that on the run. But it's live now on both, I believe. So
we are live. We're getting some good chats. Hello, guys. Hope you guys are doing okay. Hello, Mike, Bernard, and George. They're all tracking us on the chat. So welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. So today I just wanted to talk with Mr. Bill George and get an idea of where he started out in the business as with ILM, right?
Yes.
And I think you've done stuff with other people too. So I was just gonna say start from the beginning, and I will slow you down or put some pictures up to go along with what you did.
Okay. Well, it goes back like so many of us that are into science fiction modeling. It came down to I had a love of the spaceships, and it wasn't enough just to love them. I wanted to build them. And for some, there were model kits, and for others, there weren't. And so I was kind of forced into figuring out how to build these things for myself, and it became a hobby. I think as I became a teenager, I kind of left that behind and I got more into motorcycles and that kind of thing. But when Star Wars came out in 1977, I was a senior in high school, and it really rekindled my love for that hardware and how cool it was. And I was older and I had a car, so it was very dangerous. And I would go to Tap Plastics and got sheet styrene, and I was much older and much more able to build stuff. So I started building models from scratch, and would go to science fiction conventions to get reference material and also to see other people's work, and eventually ended up showing some of my work at science fiction conventions in LA, and met this gentleman by the name of Greg Jean and just picked his brain about how to build things. And within a couple of years, he actually hired me to work on Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Ooh, now that's interesting. Star Trek.
That's a couple of things that I didn't know about, Bill. That you were associated with the motion picture from I guess your influence, or you're being invited in to the group to do something else, and then somehow you managed to get into the modeling aspect of it. What's the story behind that?
Well, back then, it was 1979, the summer of 79. LA was highly unionized, and so you really couldn't come in and just start working on things. So Greg hired me as a production assistant, which was an entry-level position, and I was basically a gopher. I'd go pick stuff up for the crew, go get them lunch, drive stuff around, help them out, sweep the floors, that kind of thing. But it was an amazing opportunity because I could see what was happening, and I was in heaven. Like, being a Star Trek fan as a kid, and then they're making a movie and getting to see like the model of the Enterprise. It was amazing. I was in heaven.
I bet. Especially when they probably lit it up for the first time without technological advancement and whatever, how they lit it up. Because, I mean, that was groundbreaking stuff back then.
It really was. The whole backstory of that film and its troubled production and how it ended up as good as it is and still stands to this day is a really fascinating story. I was such a flunky back then. I was just kind of off to the side watching all of this go on, but I made friendships and certainly learned a tremendous amount from it. And that's it. They call it learn while you earn. In the film business, because you can go to a film school, but stuff like that, the nuts and bolts of visual effects, you just kind of have to be there and live it to learn it.
Right. I can understand that. So what ships and what aspects did you actually get to work on from the motion picture?
When Greg was brought in, it was toward the end. They had this memory wall sequence that didn't work, and Doug Trumbull came in and said, we need to totally rethink this, and came up with an idea of Spock's spacewalk, which was very similar to the Timegate sequence from 2001, where he has this experience and sees V'ger's past. So the things that we were building were the inside of V'ger and all the various things that Spock encounters on his spacewalk. The space lips, there's a bunch of planets, there's a space ring, things that aren't too exciting, but for me, they were very, very exciting. I couldn't wait to get to work in the morning.
I bet.
A lot of people are thinking the same thing right now. Just listening to you talk to that. So where were you at? Where was this all happening at when you were first getting into all this stuff? Where did you live?
This was down in Marina del Rey. It had been Future General. And I don't know what it was called when they were doing Star Trek: The Motion Picture, but it eventually became Entertainment Effects Group, EEG, which was where I worked on Blade Runner. So it was this interesting thing where it would start up, they'd work on a film like Close Encounters, and then they would just put everything into storage and everybody would go away. And then a year or so later, another film would come in and everything, they'd turn on the lights and it would ramp up. So it was the same company, but it had different names, probably for legal or financial reasons.
So
and then I continued to work.
Oh, go ahead. No.
I was going to say, I continued working with Greg. We worked on another film called One from the Heart, which was a Francis Ford Coppola film. Lots of miniatures in that, lots of miniature neon signs, really interesting project. And then Greg was supposed to work on Blade Runner. Eventually, he had to pass because One from the Heart extended past its deadline, and Mark Stetson took over. And I was able to stay on the crew and work with Mark Stetson. And that was the last. During Blade Runner was when I got my interview at ILM. They were expanding. They were going to do 3 films for the first time, and they needed more crew. It was Star Trek, Poltergeist, and E.T. Gotcha. And so I went up and interviewed with Lorne Peterson. So when I finished Blade Runner, I got in my truck and drove up to Marin and started at ILM.
Nice. So Nick McCarty says hi, Bill. Christian Lelandset says hi, Todd. Hi, Gordon and Bill. See here. There's one here. Oh, George Dayer said Steve Neal and Glenn Campbell worked on that movie. I guess the motion picture.
Yeah.
Then Greg also said, replying to Mark, Greg, Gene made the UFO model for Laser Blast. So, okay.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Very cool. Yeah, Glenn, I met him back then, and I still see him occasionally, and we're friends on Facebook as well.
That's cool. It's amazing Facebook, right? Get to reacquaint yourselves with.
Yeah, we're able to all stay in touch with each other. I've rekindled a lot of friendships just because of it. I mean, it does have its downside, but as long as it's stuff like this, and we're concentrating on our groups and our stuff, it's beautiful. Perfect platform.
Yeah, it's a good tool. It's a very good tool to
Agreed.
use. All right. So you got interviewed for ILM, and then what was the first project you got to mess with on that? Once you got hired?
I was hired for Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, but when I got there were some delays. So the first film I worked on technically was E.T.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I worked on the prototype of the Ralph McQuarrie design of the egg-shaped spaceship, the ET spaceship. We built a prototype of that, so I worked on that. And then once Star Trek started up, it was primarily the Reliant was what I worked on.
Beautiful ship.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about trying to come up with a 1/350 scale of the round 2 AMT model, polar lights, whatever.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see something materialize within the next year or so. Love to see it. It's a great.
It's a golden age of model kits, isn't it? I mean, you know, the 22-inch Eagle is it's astonishing, and it's amazing to me that it came out so many years later, and it just shows the enduring kind of love there is for that show.
Yeah, well, it's my favorite movie, bar none. That's my favorite of them all. Montalban is amazing.
Oh yeah, that was a nothing like the first one. I mean, I'm a original series Trekkie, so the first one was cool, but Wrath of Khan, holy crap! It was watching it in the movie theater was just I was amazed.
Yeah, Nicholas Meyer, I think, took it to definitely new heights, different direction. It needed it though. It really did, because the motion picture, story-wise, I think needed a little bit more of a boost.
Yeah.
If it was going to make it in the theater.
You're right. I mean, it's art, but it's also there to make money, and you want to appeal. But I do respect the motion picture for trying to be different. The visual effects, the design, they were playing up on the success of Star Wars, but they weren't trying to copy it. And I really respect them for that.
Well, the motion picture was an amazing feat when it came to special effects.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. All right, so who do we got going on here? Let's see here. Hey, Roy's with us today. Hey, Roy, how you doing? Roy Jelquist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He goes, hi guys. Hi, Bill. Wonderful hearing about your work on Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Bill. Nick McCarty says, I love the Reliant. Debbie Reader's with us, with Mike Reader. You know, your aluminum folk. The Reliant is still the best looking hip or ship, I think is what you meant to say, in this Star Trek universe. And then, what is it, Nick McCarty? Todd's Corner, the movie. Is that what we're doing now?
There you go.
That's a great idea.
Oh my goodness.
Bigger budget.
Yeah, we'll need one just for these technological glitches that we're running through right now, right?
Yeah, I think we got them worked out. It seems like just having the three of us is helping a lot with the bandwidth and all that stuff.
Yeah, looks like John Haig has joined us. Hey, John, good that you're joining with us today. Looks like according to Facebook, we're up to 16.
I've got 32, so
that's cool. I'm just looking at it from a user perspective.
Right, I think mine's also covering YouTube watchers. So, how long? Okay, so I want to show a picture that you sent me.
Okay.
How long did it take you to go from this to being a model builder for ILM?
Well, let's see. That was probably 78, and I got my job there in 81. So about 3 years.
Not bad.
So you want to explain what you're doing in this big container?
So when I was in college, I hooked up with this group called STAR, which was a association for Star Trek revival. And through it, I met this woman, Lisa Morton, and we became good friends. And she was the one that knew where ILM was. And she said, oh, we should go up there and go through their trash cans. So I would say maybe once a month for a few months, we would get in the car and drive up and get there at 3 a.m. and go through and find film clips and model pieces. They were working on Galactica at the time.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That is too cool. if
Did
I
you
was
end up
ever
with any
gonna,
Vipers or silencers or anything like that?
I pulled out of the trash can the original pattern of the top of the Cylon. And
Wow.
it's weird. Somebody had like smashed it with their foot. So it was in a bunch of pieces, but I cobbled it all back together.
Very
just-
cool.
you think they were doing that just so nobody like would take it out of the dumpster and use it?
Probably.
Ha, you tricked them, didn't you? You're gonna hire me, people, because I can fix
Hey, how did he get that?
It was an interesting experience going through their trash because I learned a lot about ILM. I learned that they drink a lot of beer.
That's classic. I like that.
But we were never hassled. We just drove in, parked in the lot, took pictures, took stuff out. And, we weren't vandalistic. We put everything back. So
Right.
we weren't causing any trouble.
Not like things are today.
Yeah.
So we have a question from George Dare. Wanted to ask Bill George a question. What type of lighting was available for Reliant at the time?
For which? Lighting for what?
Reliant. The lighting for Reliant.
Primarily, it was neon because you had to use a lighting system that was on the cooler side. Otherwise, the model would melt. I think that model was almost all fiberglass and vacuum formed styrene. So for the window lights, we would use neon, and that's the way it was for the original Enterprise. Not the the TV one, but the original movie one. It was all neon inside, and then the little blinky lights were just your standard grain of wheat.
Wow, gotcha.
And at the time, they had tints that I can't remember who made them, but there was like green and red tint, and you would just dip it in and then leave it to dry, and it was like a gel, and those burn out all the time. It's crazy when you think about how primitive it was. Like the blinky lights, they switched it over, but originally there was a guy, because it was shot lower than 24 frames per second. So it was like maybe a frame a second. So there was somebody looking at the thing, and like every 40 frames, they would turn the switch off and then turn the switch back on for the blinky lights. Ultimately, we switched where they would shoot them on the whole time, and they would do that in the optical printing process of turning the lights on and off.
Wow.
Did you have a lot of good flexibility for trying new things with regards to trying to be groundbreaking? I know that the motion picture was a huge success from a science fiction perspective, and I suppose that there might have been an attitude that you had to live up to, not you specifically, but the team. I didn't know if there's anything that you guys were trying to experiment or just make better, I guess, if you want to call it that.
It's an interesting point. We are always trying to either push the envelope creatively or figure out ways to be faster and more efficient. The beauty of the effects on the original Star Trek film owed a lot to the front light backlight matting process, but that means you're shooting many, many more passes, and also the self-illuminating models. It just all ended up being an awful lot of work on stage. And so when ILM was approached to do the work, of course, they used blue screen and tried to simplify the whole lighting setup. One of my first jobs was to mask off the windows and put Delling spray over the Enterprise model. And we had to do that in order to shoot at blue screen. And I know a lot of people are upset about that. They think it's sacrilege, but it had to be. The movie couldn't have been made for the budget if it wasn't shot blue screen.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
Well, I agree. There's room for that stuff, and everything else. At least it's not everything's purely, CGI or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah,
I like the idea that there's still a lot of people doing these movies and using the actual models.
They have a look and a feel that people really like. Because in computer graphics, we're always striving to get that realism that you get right off the bat with a miniature. It's a combination of the model being good, but also the stage crew, the cameramen, the DPs being good too. Because I've seen some really shitty models look amazing, and I've seen some really amazing models look not so great.
Yeah. Well, that's what I hear about those, like the Eagles, the original Eagles that were used. They don't look so great up close. Now, you can tell they've been beaten, battered, and they didn't do a lot of. I mean, from far away, they look freaking awesome, and on screen they look like our models look better than the original
Right.
prop.
But how many crashes have your models been in? They were crashing every week on that show.
So true. So true.
That's true. And I think that's another reason they brought in the third Eagle, was to do the crash scenes, because the other ones were getting beat up so bad, so they kind of built it a little stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably thinking that they did that for other models also. But I like that idea.
Did you guys use the original? Well, let me not confuse everybody. The refit from the motion picture for Star Trek II.
Oh yeah, of the Enterprise, we used that in all the way up to Star Trek VI.
Gotcha.
I think that was the last film that we used the model for. But yeah, it was a workhorse, that model.
I bet it was. One of these days, I'll have me a 350 build up with lights and everything. That'd be sweet.
Does anybody know where that actual model is now?
It's in the lobby of some company. I know people know where it is. Is it Jeff Bezos?
Oh my goodness, that's just
owns it.
Well, I guess if you're going to be the owner of Amazon, you could get anything you want, huh?
I think it might not be him, but at auction somebody bought it and it's in a lobby of a building somewhere, from what I hear.
Still around.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
If it's displayed, yes. Not. I was thinking warehouse. Hopefully, it's not some warehouse being stored. It'd be displayed in all its glory.
So, getting back to your beginnings.
Yes.
So Star Wars came out in '77, right? And you worked on it later.
Yes, after Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, then I started working on Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. That's what I was trying to get at. And that's the one they introduced, a special model that you kind of did in a years before, right?
Yeah, sort of. I like to think of it as the ultimate Cinderella story, the ultimate fan fantasy, where when I was living and working in Los Angeles, my goal was to work at ILM. And when the Art of Star Wars came out, there were some really great shots of the Y-Wing, enough so that I thought, well, now I have enough information that I could build one. And so I built one for fun. When I went up and got my interview at ILM a year or so later, I took the model with me as an example of the work that I could do. Yeah. And I guess it worked because I got hired. And then when we started working on Jedi, they didn't have enough Y-Wings. So they asked if they could use mine. And I'm like, of course. But then by the end, and that's the model there. By the end, the people at Lucasfilm were like, wait a minute, there's a model we used in our movie and we don't own it. We better buy it. So then they ended up buying it from me.
That was my next question.
Yeah, it was used in the film and now it's up in the archives.
Very
so
cool.
They still have it. It's still
yep.
Where? What do you mean archives? Like a storage area?
Yeah, Lucasfilm has an archives up at the ranch where all the models are kept. It's pretty rare that they're all there at the same time because they're always going out and going to traveling shows.
Okay, that's what I
But it's pretty amazing, just row after row of shelves, and there's prototypes and paintings and models and costumes. It's an amazing place.
Is he waiting to auction that stuff off?
Oh God, no. In fact, George Lucas is building a museum in Los Angeles as we speak. And my guess is most of that stuff is going to go down there.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Well, that makes sense. Might as well make some, I'm assuming he's going to charge admission for folks to come in there and check it out. But yeah, it's a good way to, profitize on some of the original works. Might as well.
Well, I don't think he's doing it for profit. He gave away a lot of the money that he made from a sale to Disney.
Well, I'm sure he did.
The guy loves to build and he loves architecture, and it's, I think you got to have some reason to get up in the morning, right?
Right.
Oh, sure.
The whole ranch and the place where I work now, or used to work until the pandemic, in the Presidio, he was intimately involved in designing that. It's like his hobby. It's just on a slightly bigger scale than what we do.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy. So let me
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was going to say it's rather interesting to see. Empire Strikes Back was I think all the special effects were produced in England, and then the whole the whole thing kind of relocated to Los Angeles for Return. I think, right?
Well, it was shot in England, and they did the practical stuff there, but the visual effects were always done at ILM. For the first film, you're right, it was in LA. It was in Van Nuys. And George, because I think originally the hope was that they were just going to do the work and he'd look at the film, but he became aware that he needed to be there. So he was flying down every week. So I think for the next film, he said, no, they're moving up to where I live, so I don't have to get on a plane so much. So that's when they moved up to Marin, right before they went into production on Empire Strikes Back.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Okay.
And we were in that facility up until 2004, at which point we moved to the Presidio.
Very cool.
Cool. I'm gonna throw some pictures up, and you just tell us where this was at and which you were working on.
Oh, well, that's Return of the Jedi, of course.
Yeah.
Well, back then we called it Darth's Shuttle. It's interesting, working in the model shop, things had different names. Like the Shuttle Tidarium, I'd never heard that until the movie came out.
Oh, really?
It was just Darth's Shuttle. And the miracle that's this model was what Charlie Bailey built inside it, the mechanism, because as you can see, it's fairly small, but those guns on the front of the wings rotated when the wings went down. There was the landing gear that you can see there, that the doors opened up and the gear extended, and it all was, you turn a switch and it would all happen. It was just amazing.
Wow. Now that would be cool. So is this at ILM?
Yes. Yeah. This was up in San Rafael. My only regret on this model was because the motors didn't have that much torque, I had to make the wings really light. And over time, if you see the model nowadays, the wings are very warped and bowed. And it's just because it's very thin styrene inside, and just the heat over time bowed the two wings. I'm talking about the outer wings. The center wing was pretty sturdy. I think it might have been plexiglass.
Well, I mean, what was your typical so they said, I want this model built. Here you go. You got 5 hours to do it. I mean, what was their typical?
Well, it usually came down to man weeks. And for like a model like this, Charlie was doing the engineering. I was doing the fabrication of the pieces on the outside that you saw. So it was a team effort. And they would give us a guide, or they'd ask us, well, how long do you think this would take? And we'd sit down and give it our best guess, maybe 8-10 weeks linear, with the two of us working on it. And sometimes we'd finish early and sometimes we'd go over. It was just the luck of the draw.
Huh. That's pretty nifty. I've heard Martin Bauer talk about, sometimes they worked through the night to get things done with the Space 1999 series, and it's like he didn't have much time to do hardly anything, and in the time span that they had, they did some pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Television has a much tighter schedule, a much smaller budget. Of course, this is a big blockbuster film, so they were pretty generous with time. And they understood also, I think, that these things not only got used in the movies, but they became toys and model kits and things. They multitasked over a number of different ways of contributing to the company.
Right. Here is another photo that is pretty neat. It's got somebody writing on it, but at least it tells us what happened.
Wow. Did you get that offline?
Yeah.
Yeah, people send me photos all the time and they say they want me to sign them. And then I see them on eBay. So I don't know. I guess it.
Look at that perfect mustache.
I know. And that hair. Oh my God.
The old good old days.
Yeah. Look at. Now, see, a lot of people want to call that a mullet. I don't.
Well, thank you. It's mullet light.
So Sanjay Rampal, hopefully I'm not butchering that name, I apologize. He had asked, did Bill work on the B-Wings?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did. I built the prototypes, and then I built the actual stage models as well. In fact, I joke that the B stands for Bill, because it makes no sense that nothing on it looks like a B. And in fact, I ran into Joe Johnston the other day, and I said, "So Joe, people want to know, because the A-wing looks like an A, right? If you look at it from the top, it's got that shape." I said, "Why is the B-wing called the B-wing?" And he said, "Because I designed it second."
A and B.
Nice.
There you go.
No meaning at all.
Yeah.
So Michael Hodges was asking, how detailed were the designs you were given to make these models? I'm assuming you had to improvise a lot.
Absolutely, and that was part of the fun. And all of the artists, all of the model makers contributed a tremendous amount. And I think is one of the reasons why the designs of those earlier films feel so just rich, is because it wasn't a single designer, it was a bunch of people contributing to it. So for the B-wing, you would get maybe 3 drawings that George had approved, and then you would have to kind of do a mashup of them. And then, of course, you were guided by Joe. He would come by and say, "Oh, no, no." In fact, he would bring in an X-Acto knife and he'd chip pieces off. It was usually for him kind of editing, taking stuff off that we had put on.
I just worked on that. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. That's the business.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're like, "Whoa, what's he do? He brought a knife. What the heck?"
Michael Hodges was asking, did the B-wing have any mechanism in it like the shuttle Tidarium?
Yes, it did. The original concept was that the cockpit would stay stationary. And I think this is something that they've done in some of the animated series that have been out, like Rebels and Clone Wars, where it stays stationary and the ship rotates around it. So there was a stepper motor that rotated the cockpit. The wings, though, there was no mechanism for opening the wings. The way that was done was monofilament line and stepper motors.
Wow.
So the monofilament line would just open them up. And sadly, the original B-wing was supposed to be used much more. The problem was that when it got far away from you, it was so thin that there would be matte problems with the blue screen. And so it then got kind of pushed to the back, which I don't mind. I love the obscure.
Oh, yeah.
I can understand that. Well, it looks like Jeff Roble is here. Hello, Jeff. Let's see. Who else says hi? Oh, BP Taylor's with us. Hey, BP, how you doing? That's about it, I think, for saying hello. No, we haven't talked about the Eagle in the background yet. We haven't got to the Sci-Fi Air Show just yet. We're still talking a little bit of historical background.
Yeah.
So
look at there.
You haven't missed out.
The Death Star.
That was fun. Oh my God, look how skinny I am.
You guys weren't allowed to eat, I guess, back then.
Well, I was 23. That's kind of the big difference.
That's
the Death Star was fun. It was kind of like a quilting bee, where a lot of people worked on it. It was such a major project, and a lot of detail. And we used acid etched brass for a lot of the fine filigree detail you're seeing here.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't even fathom where you started on that. So many different layers there.
How long did it take to do that one? To the point where you were satisfied?
Boy, that's a question a lot of people ask, and it's really hard to answer, because when I came on, it was probably 30% complete. The Frank Ordaz had blocked in the basic paint job on it, and someone had put together the hemisphere. And what I took over was the filigree detail pieces. So I built a core inside, and then did the artwork, had the etched brass made, and then a bunch of people helped me glue it in there with what was then called hot stuff, which is crazy glue. That's what I'm holding in my right hand.
Yeah, that stuff's amazing.
It is for us model collectors, that's for sure. Bill, I'm sure you go through the silliness all the time with all of your model building, that every time you have to every time you display, there's always something that you got to repair. Something happened.
Oh yeah.
You got to reattach it to reattach something to something.
Always. My TIE fighter cockpit.
That's from
I'm
you.
thinking,
That's
yeah, this. So you'll see on my desk there, that's actually a casting out of the pyro molds that I was using as a guide.
yeah. This is for your Sci-Fi Air Show, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I went through it in there because it was Star Wars and we were talking about it. So that is freaking. What scale is that? Big?
It's. I don't know what scale it was, but I was able to find some blueprints of the set that they built for the original Star Wars, and the inside of the thing is huge. And it might have been because it did double duty for the inside of Darth Vader's TIE fighter as well. But it was really big. And what was interesting in the new films, it was big enough that they had 2 people in it, which is not that far off from what it was in the original film. You see it so seldomly. It really didn't give away how big that set was.
Right. Yeah, that's I would again, how do you justify the size you want to start with and end with? Actually, it's really all about how it ends, I guess.
Well, that's a really interesting point, because for the Sci-Fi Air Show, it was my fantasy that, well, what if these things were real? That, well, some guy would get together and buy a bunch of them up and put it in a traveling show. But I didn't want to just build models. I wanted to show things that we hadn't seen before. And with the TIE fighter, it was bridging the inside and the outside. So I wanted to build it big enough that you could see the cockpit inside. And that was like a ship in a bottle, because the cockpit had to be built to come apart so I could paint it, and then you put one piece in and then another piece in, because this shell was solid.
Right.
That is pretty
Interesting. So
Yeah,
John
very-
Haig was asking, did Bill work on any of the Endor stuff?
Endor?
Yeah.
Well,
Return of the
I worked on both of the Ewok movies. And yes,
Oh, okay.
I worked on the small walkers, which were the stop motion ones. Those are the ones when it's walking, it was, I don't know, about maybe this big. And then Paul Houston built the large scale ones that were for pyro, for when the logs smashed into its head or its head blew up, that kind of thing.
Sanjay was asking, how much cool shade would you use on the tie? LOL.
We did have some in the shop, and I did use some on Darth's shuttle. There's a piece on the top that has cool shade. But as far as for the models like my TIE fighter, luckily did not have wings. I don't know how I would build those wings because of the cool shade issue. But this week I was thinking, you know what, it might be fun to make it as an interceptor, because it's the same cockpit.
Huh.
And those wings would be much easier to make, because they didn't use cool shade. They used that kind of translucent, pebbly plastic that goes in light fixtures.
Huh. That's cool.
Right.
Back then we had a handyman, like walking distance from ILM, and they would just go over, hey, this looks good. There you go.
Oh, like like an Ace Hardware or something like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I bet they loved you guys.
Yeah.
What do you need? I don't know. I'm just gonna look around, see what I can find, and I'm gonna take it, and we're gonna do something with it.
There's some great stories about that, Todd. Like on Poltergeist, one of our PAs had to go out and buy like a gross of condoms because they were using them to put Methicil in, and then they would pop for an effect.
Well, I mean, you pulled it off. I mean, wow, that's okay. That's pretty cool.
Practice.
What did Clint Eastwood say in what was it, Heartbreak Ridge? You improvise, you adapt, you overcome.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what was so fun about the ILM model shop back then, was any solution was valid, and you never knew how you were going to solve a particular effect. And you're right, Todd. We would go to handyman, just look around. Oh, hey, look at this. We could use this for something. And that was part of the job. And you never know who was going to bring in that. That's why they really weren't model makers in the model shop, everybody was a different type of artist. There were painters, there were sculptors, there were industrial designers, there were people, Jeff Mann used to work on boats. But so they all brought this really diverse perspective.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Having the vision to be able to look in a store aisle and say, oh yeah, that'll work for some. We can use this. We can use this. Greeblies is what we call them. Parts off of kit bashing. I still haven't figured that out. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that piece on there is from the Saturn V. It's the third stage engine.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So
watching. Well, you remember Lee Malone's Millennium Falcon repro that he had done. He could name every single piece from every single kit. It's worse than the guy who has a lot of testosterone and loves sports that can name every stat of every game of every year. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So Roy has a question. The stop motion walkers were very cool. We were just talking about Harry Halson's work on the show this past Friday. With that said, were you inspired by him, his work too, Bill?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, that whole fight with the skeletons is amazing stuff. And one of my favorite films as a kid was First Men in the Moon, with that giant worm and those really, really creepy aliens. I didn't do any of the actual stop motion. That was done by Tom Santamon and, of course, the legendary Phil Tippett. But it was really fun to work with those guys and to see how they did it. And, nowadays, frame by frame, you can record it on video so you can go to lunch and then come back and see where you were. Back then, they couldn't. They had to there would be signs, stay out, do not talk to anybody, because you couldn't distract them. They had to stay so focused on what they were doing.
Right. So BP was asking if you got to go on any shopping trips to pick out kits for detailing. What were your favorite kits to use?
Well, the one that comes to mind is Thor and Anzio Annie, which I think they did use on Space 1999. I think they're on the Super Swift. Those were great. The Tamiya, like the 12th scale race cars, those we used up the wazoo. They had a lot of really good engine components, which weren't too recognizable. Used a lot of those on Blade Runner and also on the Star Trek films as well.
Mike Hodges was asking, what was it like working with Lauren Peterson at ILM?
Hilarious. Lauren's great. I mean, Lauren hired me. I owe him a tremendous amount. But no, I think he was a really, really good manager and an amazing artist. And for me, they say, like, if you're going to play tennis, you want to play with people better than you, and then you'll improve. And that's kind of how I felt working at ILM. There were so many people that were so talented. It just rubs off on you. And it was a major, major influence on me. And certainly Lauren is one of those people, very thoughtful, very detail-oriented, and very creative.
So then Nick McCarty was asking, what's your favorite Greebly, if there is such a thing to narrow down to one?
It's interesting. I was talking to, oh God, I'm having a brain fart. Jason Eaton. I was talking to him about we should build big Greeblies, like pick your favorite and make one about 3 feet wide. And there's one on the bottom of the Galactica shuttle. It has this kind of zigzag pattern. And it was one of the first ones that I recognized and saw the kit and went, wait, that's that. So I think I'd want to do that one. It's hard to describe though, but it's underneath the engine.
This picture here is one of the B-wings.
Yep. I had an opportunity to go up to the archives a couple years ago. I was working on a Star Wars related project, and I asked them if they would bring one of the B-wings out, and they did. So it was a reunion.
So if you manage to get back up there, will you call me and take me with
I'd love to. That would be amazing.
I see a question from John Haig about you possibly being involved in Blade Runner.
Yes, I was. I did work on the original film. I didn't work on the reboot though, or the sequel.
Right. I think I got some pictures here that will show that.
Yeah, that was a really fun show, and we just had I guess it's a 40th reunion with that crew, with that model shop crew.
Oh yeah, here we go. Badoo.
There's that mustache.
Yeah, lucky dog.
And the feathered hair.
It was popular at the time.
Yes, it was. I had it too. Had it too before I went in the military,
What?
but then, yeah.
You had hair?
Well,
Get out of
when I was 17.
And there was,
that was it.
Yeah, this one I don't remember for some reason, but I would if I went back and watched the show.
Oh, that was the advertising blimp. I built it, and then after I left to go to ILM, they reworked it. They put spires and lights and all kinds of little like bumper stickers all over it. So it changed pretty considerably than what you're seeing here.
That was one of the ships that flew through and had the lights kind of doing this.
Yeah, but you were seeing it primarily from below.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I found that picture. This is when I realized that you had been on Blade Runner. I was like, wow.
The way I made the pattern for this was really interesting. I actually built a kind of reverse box and then covered it with latex and filled the latex with plaster. And so the weight of the plaster would push the latex between the ribs, and that's how I got this shape.
Wow.
Because I'm lazy. I didn't want to sculpt it.
So hello, AJ. It looks like, Bill, you may have worked with Jim Doyle on Blade Runner.
Was he in the model shop, or was he
That
on
was
the
the
production?
extent of the question.
Yeah, I don't remember that name. Jim Doyle? I don't remember that name. But it's possible.
Yeah, you can't remember everybody you worked with, I'm sure, but
I know I can't.
No, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. I think the chemicals are getting to me at the chemical plant. Okay, so let's move on to, let's see. I want to talk about, okay, let's go to the Enterprise, the original 11.
Ah, yes.
Refurbish, however you want to call it, renovation,
Restoration.
So, restoration, yeah.
Restoration.
I've got a couple of pictures here for you.
But, so yeah, that's one of the most amazing things.
Well, the Smithsonian made a decision to. I think they came to the realization that it really is a valuable icon. And Margaret Whiteycamp, who's the woman on the far left, she was the overseer of it, and they wanted to restore it. The only part of the Enterprise that had the original paint job was the dish that you're seeing here. There had been a couple of times they had repainted it before. And so they knew that they wanted to repaint. And also it was, I mean, the secondary hull is built like a barrel, and it was starting to crack and fall apart. So they knew they had to go in and put in some more structure, or the whole thing was eventually just going to fall apart. The fact that this thing is over 50 years old is pretty astonishing, that it's around and it's in as good a shape as it is. But they put together a steering committee, and they put out an offer for people to send in, well, this is how I would approach the restoration. And myself and John Goodson were asked to put in a proposal, and we did, and we were picked, which I was very happy about.
Yeah, that's got to be one of your best experiences, I would think.
Well, it was a childhood dream come true. It's important to know that all the stabilization of the model and the base coat was done by the Smithsonian. We're in a spray booth here, which I thought, it's crazy. It looks just like the space dock, but they shoot, or they paint airplane fuselages in there. That's what this place was set up for, and that was a fun thing to experience as well. But myself, John Goodson, and Kim Smith, who's the woman on the right, we were brought in to do the detail paint. So any of the pencil lines, the aging, the graphics, all that stuff was what we were responsible for.
That is,
And we were there. What was that?
I was going to say all that work was over what, the Udvar Hazy, Dulles,
Yes.
Dulles area. Yeah.
Yes. And we were there for 2 weeks. That was what we had budgeted for.
Okay.
so
Well, there must have been a lot of work going on in 2 weeks.
yeah,
That was a lot of work.
It was, and it was a unique experience too, because it was working for the government, but it was also working for the Smithsonian. And it was very different than working on a film. We tried and succeeded at not putting anything on the model that we didn't have at least 2 pieces of evidence for, because photos lie. And we wanted to make sure that it was as accurate as possible. And Gary Kerr was involved in it, and that guy is an expert on the history of the model. They chose a point in time, which was the last time that the model was shot for the feature film, which was The Trouble with Tribbles, as the time that we wanted to match. And we were really lucky in that the Smithsonian was able to track down a lot of previously unseen reference material, because as all of us know, your model's only going to be as good as your reference material. And our restoration, as opposed to some of the earlier ones, we had just a wealth of information as to what the original model looked like.
that amazing.
Show your picture, Todd.
Oh, I will.
Come on now. Don't be bashful.
Yeah. Well,
What's interesting about this is one of the things that we put into our proposal was I wanted to have something that we could experiment on that was the same size and shape as the model, but wasn't the model. So we could be more free form with trying things and being able to present that to the whole steering committee and get consensus before we started working on the model. So John Goodson built the engines you see behind me there, and then I built this secondary hull. So it was the same size as the model, but it was just basically a stand-in, a stunt double, as you were, that we could paint. For instance, we painted these windows on the side and we realized they're not dark enough. We had to change the color of the paint. But the only way to do that, because light plays such a part in how you perceive the colors, if you just did it on a piece of flat board, it wouldn't be the same as a curved cylindrical shape.
right. So
Jay was asking, did the paint research go so far as to seeing how colors might wear and fade over time?
They were trying to hit what it looked like back when they were working on the show. So there was a lot of archaeology of going in and sanding down the surface and trying to get the exact tone. But what's interesting is just this is such a not an exact science. One of the beautiful shots we had taken in color, it was from a 5x7 negative on stage. You could see that there was like a finger line through what appeared to me to be dulling spray, because they would use dulling spray, obviously, to get rid of the blue spill. But what that does, the dulling spray grays everything down and it makes it feel bigger. So that question is really astute, in that if the colors were too bright, it wouldn't look like you remember it. So like in the red, we mixed in a little bit of the hull color to try to get it to settle in a little bit better. So in my mind, it was a real combination of the science of finding out these exact colors, but a little bit of the artistry of making sure that when you looked at it, it felt correct.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you guys did it, but you did it. Tell
the story of the lighting, how you guys came to the determination of what y'all wanted to do with the lighting.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fun story. There was an artifact. It was the Close Encounters ship that they had out there at that remote facility out by the airport, and I guess it was accidentally left on. The lights were left on, and it melted and caught on fire. And so there was a lot of reluctance to not have lights, or there was reluctance to have lights in the Enterprise because it's so much more valuable. But John Goodson, who was on the steering committee, at one point, the whole committee is there looking at it, and he took a flashlight and just stuck his arm into the secondary hull and lit up some of the windows, and everyone went, ooh. And so the team said, okay, we should talk about this. And ultimately, I think they ended up with what was a really great compromise, which is the lights come on for 15 minutes. I think it's 2 or 3 times a day. But what's great about that is people know and they gather around, and so it's a show when it happens, and people react to it, and it's great.
Yeah, don't try to get pictures during that. Let me tell you.
That's true.
Like, wait, stop. Hey, I'm taking a picture. Hey, right here in this picture, you are touching the Enterprise. So
I know. And I didn't have gloves on. I'd probably get in trouble.
Okay, we'll get rid of that picture. Oh yeah. So,
wow.
But this, just to know that you were there and working on that thing, that's got to be thrilling.
So, what were some of the weathering techniques that you wanted to administer to the Enterprise?
Well,
the Bill George, secrets.
Well, like I said, we weren't adding anything to it. Everything we put on there, we tried to base in photographic evidence. There was we wanted to come up slow, because one of the earlier restorations, a lot of people criticized it for being a little over aged. When you look at it on the TV screen, it doesn't look like it's got aging. It did, but it's very, very subtle. So we really creeped up on it. We would start very, very low and then add more to it.
Gotcha.
One of my favorite techniques is to use graphite, and that's very archival, and it's something that you can change if you need to. So we used the graphite, but most of it was airbrushing. Myself and Kim just airbrushing and looking at the reference. Oh, and there you go.
Man, I didn't get to touch it. I did put my
behind glass.
Do a mind move. I wanted to so badly, but this weekend right here was a dream come true for me to see that thing after you guys fixed her up for us. It's
impressive, isn't it?
Impressive.
It's a really big scale.
Chills. I'm getting chills now just remembering it. It's so iconic for me because my dad got me into watching these things, and Trek. We'd watch Trek after it started. What do you call it? Reruns or whatever. Man, I was
Syndication.
Yeah, I was all over it. So that ship for me is part of my childhood. And now adulthood.
Yeah.
And I've been there to see it, and I will go back and see it. My next plan is to go to see the shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
come on out. Well, I'll take you over to the Ed Bar Hazy and see.
Yeah, that was a
Discovery.
Great...
Excuse me. The Columbia.
Now, did you see the film that I made about the restoration?
It was the one playing on the. No. Oh, yes.
No. There was a short that Smithsonian was showing off for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I went into this, I knew there are thousands of people out there that would love to just be looking over our shoulder and watching this. So I had my camera with me, and it was the type that I could shoot video on it. So if interesting things were happening, I shot it. And at the end, I turned it over to the Smithsonian and said, here, there's a bunch of archival stuff of us working on it. And I could tell by their reaction that they weren't going to do anything with it. So I cut together a little film that's maybe 4 minutes long, just showing the process of the restoration.
That's I think I've seen that. I'm almost positive you've seen that. Oh, here's a good picture of you. Oh yeah, this is so you're actually spray painting there, aren't you? Yep, because the hose is hooked up, so it's not a fake one.
Yeah, and people were like, "Why, you're not wearing a respirator?" Well, I was in a giant house-sized spray booth
that has ventilation running.
Yeah.
So. But that's, I mean, just that picture is just thrilling for me to watch because I'm now airbrushing now, and to know that somebody was doing that to the original Enterprise, mind-boggling.
Yeah, we used Post-its for a lot of the masking, just because we didn't want to have the tape be too strong. It would have been a disaster if we would have pulled off, the paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, even painter's tape might have been a little too strong, so I guess
Yeah.
Post-its was a good choice.
So
Yeah.
you can see in this one, on the underside, there are no scribe lines. It's all pencil lines, and you can see the pencil lines, both the radial ones and also the linear ones coming out of the center. And this is the graphite aging I was talking about. Kind of along the edge, you can see the darkening, and that was just all done with taking a pencil in your finger and kind of blurring it out there.
Wow. Pretty dang neat.
Must have been an amazing experience.
It was stressful though. And one of the interesting things was the people that worked there, they're used to going home at 3:30. Well, John, Kim, and I, we work on movies, and we're used to staying there until the job is done. And so reluctantly, they would alternate. One of them would stay late with us because we couldn't be there by ourselves. In fact, they had to escort us to the bathroom anytime we had to go, which is kind of embarrassing. Although it's a government facility, there's a lot of really valuable things there.
Sorry, you don't have clearance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What an amazing experience. It was great to see. Great group of people there at the Smithsonian. They really cared about the model. A lot of people fought. I think I told you guys the story about how there were certain people that didn't want it to be in that main hall because it never flew. It's a ship of fantasy. But at an open house, they saw how much this iconic model means to people, and they realized, no, this does have a place here.
Well, I tell you what, we really do appreciate the entire team putting in the effort to show off at a place like the Smithsonian for all time, I guess. Hopefully all time. It is indeed an American icon. As much as 1999 I love, but Star Trek is the American icon for science fiction. Arguably so. So it is an amazing honor to be talking to the one of the leads of that. So it's awesome. Really do appreciate that.
I helped out a little.
Yeah, just a little. So do we want to move over to talking a little bit about Sci-Fi Airshow? Are we done?
Yeah, hold on. I got one more.
Oh, you got one more.
AJ wants to know. He says, I know many people already know, but please enlighten me on the instrument pointing forward on the lower lighted dome of the saucer section.
Ah, yes.
Because that's something I've wondered too.
Oh, there you go.
What is that?
What you mean, like, what is it supposed to be?
Yeah.
Well, I can't say for sure. Gary Kerr, I think, called it the photon cannon. I think the original idea was that it was where the phasers came out of.
Okay.
But it certainly surprised me when I saw it. But there is photo evidence. Once again, we didn't put anything on there unless there was serious evidence that showed that it was there. Yeah. It gets lost because it's so small. The other thing was it moves in and out. So a lot of the times I think it was pushed back pretty far.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing that in the show. So it's probably just so small and everything that just didn't get picked up in the shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I saw it, I was like, why'd they add that?
Because in the behind the scenes shots, it is absolutely there.
Yeah, you probably had some pretty good shots.
There's a lot of secrets of the Enterprise. I mean, Gary has talked about doing a book, and I really think he should, because we learned a lot working on the project. And behind the buzzards in the front of the engine, there are these ribs, and I think a lot of models I've seen, they paint those dark or almost black. And we went to court over this one because I felt it's darker. It's a darker gray green than the hull. But Gary Kerr got up on the stand and he's like, okay, look at this photo. And ultimately we all came to the agreement that it's not a different color. It is the exact same color as the hull. It's just the fact that because they're angled, they catch the light differently. Oh. So depending on if you're in the front or in the back, it looks lighter or darker.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike Hodges asks, can Bill discuss his work on Star Trek III? So many iconic ships that Mr. George created.
Oh, sure. Sure. Star Trek III, that was the Klingon bird of prey, the Excelsior, Grissom,
The Excelsior.
Merchantman. Yeah.
They were proud of that ship until it went.
Well, that was the whole point. When that ship was designed, it was supposed to be like a bully, and then you're happy when the bully, gets tripped or whatever.
Yep.
It was supposed to be super souped up. It was supposed to be the future. It was supposed to make them feel bad when they pull into space dock and they all look at it and go, "Oh." So that was the impetus behind the design. It was supposed to be kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
And we did a bunch of different designs, and at the very end I had some extra time, and so Dave Carson said, well, why don't you just do one? And at the time I was really into Japanese design, and I thought, well, what if the Japanese modern design did the Enterprise, what would it look like? And that's kind of what I came up with in the prototype, and ultimately that was the one that Nimoy chose. But it changed quite a bit. From there, Steve Golly did some really beautiful drawings of it, made it a little bit sleeker. And then I wasn't involved in the construction of the model, just the prototype.
Just the prototype. That's pretty good, though. I mean, it is your designs as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. And gotcha. there's some. It's kind of this weird thing where if you hire an artist to do something, well, it's going to look like their work. And I think a lot of people criticize that when ILM took over the work for the Star Trek films, they started looking Star Wars-esque. And it's like, well, it's an honest mistake. That's what we worked on, right? That's what we're used to. But like on the Merchantman ship, because that one was built very, very quickly. I think they gave me a week to do that. And it's totally kit bashed and just flat pieces of plastic put together. And I used a technique that I had done on Blade Runner, which is you mix up some Bondo and you cut a brush short and you just stipple it on. And so you get this texture, which was very Blade Runner. But that's all over the Merchantman ship.
Huh. So there's techniques to, you say, that's Blade Runner technique.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And I think a lot of people don't realize the pressure that you're under as a model maker to like, okay, here's a project, you need to get it done in this amount of time. And that drives a lot of the decisions that you make. And we're not making these models to go into a museum, although a lot of them ended up, but it's all about like, what can you do in a week?
Right.
And so they end up looking kind of funky at the end of that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Martin Bauer always said that he was, given hours, not days or weeks to do some models. And the way some of these came out, okay, you can imagine that. But I'm trying to think of one. I mean, the Sidon ship. I mean, for Space 1999, who knew? I mean, it's these big eye-looking things, but it's pretty cool how he did it and where he got the parts from. Otaki Firebird kit. It's a huge kit. Used some tail light lenses and some other parts. I mean,
pieces off a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah,
pieces off a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, whatever was there, they grabbed it. That's what I'm saying. Yep. There was a lot of ingenuity. You don't.
Yeah.
I can't look it apart and say, "Oh, that'd make a good sci-fi ship."
So Nick McCarty was asking, "What's your favorite ship, Bill, that you also have in your own collection, in your own place?"
Oh gosh, that's so hard to say.
You can say the Eagle. You're in good company.
The Eagle.
Well, we're on Star Trek props and ships too now.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's so hard to say. I mean, I have to say I'm really proud of the Klingon bird of prey because I had a lot to do with that. Nilo Rodis did some sketches, and one of them was of this muscle builder, and he said, "Well, here, make it look like this." And that was what was really brilliant about Nilo is he wouldn't give you 2 points. He'd just say, "I want you to draw a line between here and there, and it's up to you to figure out how to do it." And
right.
When I realized one of the things that really stood out about the Muscle Man sketch was the shoulders, at how big and round they were. And I thought, it looks like a football player. And if you look at the bird of prey, there are shoulder pads on it and very literally a chin guard around the front. That was all born out of what Nilo had told me. But I realized if I hinge the wings, you're going to lose volume. And I thought, how can I hinge the wings and not lose volume? And I remembered my grandmother had this old radio, and in it were those tuners, the fin tuners. Do you remember those? It was like thin metal. And as you turned the tuner, they would go together. I thought, well, if I use those, then it can hinge, but I won't lose the volume. And that was where the kind of fins up on the top came from.
Unreal. So
not that you would know, but somebody was asking, do you know who owns that original bird of prey?
I don't.
Yeah, Star Trek are all over the place, it seems. The original.
Well, every time they do the explosion, I just cry. It's like, oh my God, that poor model, man, all that work, you just blew it up.
Yeah.
Thank goodness you reuse the footage in the other movies.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. No, they used that thing to death. They really got their money's worth. And then, of course, going on to Next Generation.
Yes.
So
I forget the young ladies or the Klingon ladies' names. Ursula or Bator. I don't remember. It's been so long. Anyway.
Klingon ladies.
Yeah, the Klingon ladies.
Female Klingons.
So,
okay.
So we don't lady. TOS?
Yeah.
Yes, let's move on
to modern day technology.
So this is what I was waiting for. I'm just kidding. The whole show is awesome.
So, Sci-Fi Airshow.
Yes.
Pretty neat.
So, as you probably have noticed, there's a lot of Eagle in the Sci-Fi Airshow because there's a lot of cool things that you can do with it. The first thing that I wanted to do was, like I said earlier, bridge the inside and the outside, because I think there were a couple shots where you were outside looking in. I think they might have used photographs, but for the most part, the sets were the sets and the miniatures were the exteriors. And I wanted to do some blending of the two. So that's why I made the decision to build this model really big. And it was kind of by accident. I just chose 1/2 inch for the tubes, and I guess they're on the 44 incher, they're 1/4 inch. Is that right?
I believe so.
Because that's how it ended up being, double the 44 inch, about 86 to 88 inches. And it's only built from one side because I was building it to take photographs. There's this one shot where you're seeing it from the top, and what I did was I shot the first plate, and then I flipped the model around and shot the other plate because it is almost completely symmetrical in the center, as you guys know.
Right.
So how many people think this is real when you do this stuff?
What's that?
How many people think that it was real when they first saw it and wanted to go to wherever this was at?
Yeah, it's hard to quantify, but that warms my heart when people say, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! When is it coming to my town?" But I didn't do it to fool people. I did it to just live a fantasy, and it's my fantasy, and luckily a lot of other people share it. But the thing about it is, it usually comes out of an idea, a what if, and for the boneyard, I've been to the boneyard in Tucson, Arizona, which is really impressive. And to see these planes that are just parked out there, that are just kind of sitting there in stasis, I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool? Because they had to have lots of bits and pieces for these Eagles because they were crashing so much. Wouldn't it be cool if they had an outdoor storage area of all the pieces? And luckily, this model, because it's so big, it all comes apart. So it was very easy for me to just, set down the cockpit and then move it around 2 or 3 times, so then you'd have 3 or 4 of them in shot.
So what did you use for the internal bits? Because I don't know if you, but I'm thinking that you improvised for the cockpit piece of it, because it looked really good, especially when you imposed the human sitting on it.
From
the inside,
Well, as you know, the inside and the outside don't really match, so it's a little bit of a cheat.
Right.
And I built that as a CG model.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Well,
this
it was very effective because you got a lot of people wanting to go.
Well, good. That was my goal, but not to piss people off. Like, God damn it!
that guy's a dick.
I know, total.
Nice.
See, in this picture, when I first saw these pictures, probably first 5 or 10 times I saw this picture, I never saw over here that there was
And the mirror, yeah, the mirror shot.
I never saw the mirror. I mean, that's been recent. I didn't see the mirror. Thinking, man, this is cool. I mean, it's still cool, but somebody, I think it was Gordon, that told me, that's not finished on the other side, kind of like the Enterprise was, wires hanging out of one side, and they always shot it on the other side.
Right. So go ahead and show Bill's image, if you don't mind. He's actually focusing on his eagle.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, he's focusing on his eagle.
And
It's so huge. I forgot how big it was.
Wow. And if you stand in front of it, like I said, it's like you're in a green screen or something. The green screen's behind you because it's so big.
So it's all modular.
Oh, wow.
Neat.
These things work.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
These are actually engine bells. I had to clean them up, but they're the engine bells from the AMT kit, the back engines.
Oh, okay. Wow. And then the command module comes right off too, right?
Yeah, it's there's wing nuts in the back you undo and it just pops
okay.
off.
Gotcha.
The command module is all complete, right?
Yeah, although there is a big hole in the bottom because I had to have access to the inside.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but we don't want to see that.
Still a beauty.
Let's see that.
That's
It was
amazing.
fun. It was a fun project. And then the other one that I did for the Sci-Fi Air Show was the Millennium Eagle, which is a mashup of the Eagle. I used the round 2 kit. It's the Eagle and the Millennium Falcon. Well, what was the original pirate ship and became the Rebel blockade runner. This is hard to.
Wow.
Man,
That's pretty cool.
that is neat. I remember seeing that at Wonderfest. You brought it over one time.
Yep.
Yeah, if we have a Wonderfest again, I'm gonna have to see that when I'm close.
What do you mean if?
And
when? That's right.
And if
this
Mike
is what I've
Reeder's
been
still
wanting to
there,
see. Yeah, I think Mike is still on. Yeah,
Well,
I want one of those.
this is some of
At that
his amazing
scale.
work in the back here.
Oh yeah, he's amazing with the aluminum.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you guys about, because I had built this Swift back in the 80s, believe it or not. And I redid it recently because the paint job was really terrible. And then I got Mike to do me the engine bells. But there's a detail on it that I never noticed before. And I realized that all the reference photos that are out there, there's a lot of details on the outside, especially on the tanks. And when I compared them to the frame grabs, they didn't match. It's like someone added a lot more detail afterwards. And I was wondering if you guys knew what the story in that was. And also I noticed for the first time this antenna that's in there. And in the show, it's like to me, I interpreted it as it was silver and they put green light on it, but it's this really odd green color. And I wondered if you guys knew the history of what that was.
No, I'd have to do some more research. Todd, you might know.
No, I know when David was building his, he ran into the same problem. I think I can't remember if he ended up adding it on the 124 scale, the studio scale, or not. I don't remember
seeing the antenna on it on Dumas's kit or David's big monster.
It's weird because you only see it in, I think, 2 shots. So either it broke off for the other ones, or it's nestled between the tanks, and when you get down to a certain point, you just don't see it.
I'm gonna have to check out Brand the Brain all over again and find out those details. Checking them out on Blu-ray should be pretty easy to recognize.
Right.
So,
AJ wants to know, can you get the story behind your comm lock up on the show?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess that would be another one of my fantasies if I could find a comm lock from the show. So the idea was that these two people got access to go into the fenced off boneyard, and while they were there, they found this artifact. So I built the comm lock, and it was all broken apart, and I covered it with dirt and mud, and then took the photographs of it.
Bill, you're the only one that I know that actually put dirt and mud in its comm lock.
Right.
I think that would be sacrilege.
I can do it. Hey.
That is
Well, what's really
cool.
fun is all the wires and stuff inside, and
Very cool.
That's pretty neat.
and the buttons actually work. I found something online, and then it was supposed to be Bill Frazier's comm lock.
Right. Nothing like being unique. I mean, you don't want another Koenig comm lock, you know. Bill Fraser, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the originality.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, there you go.
2 ILM employees, 2 friends of mine.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
And then you have superimposed the bottom of an Eagle transport passenger module, passenger pod.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, that's this model.
Right.
But because of its size, you can get those kind of angles. If even a 44-inch one, I don't think would hold up for something like that.
No.
Look
You're
at
done
that.
good. That's amazing. Yep, there it is.
My God, we found it. They're probably I'd be like, think about the money.
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's a really fun hobby.
No kidding.
That's what I wanted.
So do you have any plans? Do you have any future plans for the expanding of the Sci-Fi Air Show?
You know, it's getting to the point where I kind of feel like I've done what I need to do. Although I've got an escape pod from Star Wars, a model that I was thinking about putting in there, and I do want to do some more shots of the Eagle. I want to get the classic redwood forest background.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to argue with you there. Anything 1999 related is going to be well accepted around these parts.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This is where I wanted to visit. I was like, I've got to find out where somebody.
So you must have gotten a little bit of a Mattel Eagle inspiration from that one hatch on that one in the center there. It looks just like the hatch that opens up the toy.
This was all Photoshop, all the rust, all the interior details. To me, that was the fun part, is like taking the real mechanisms that you'd see inside an airplane and putting them on the Eagle. I know a lot of people were pissed off because I put the graffiti on it, but that's what happens with these things, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's all good. Very original, very cool.
Yeah, I would have been. I'd probably not returned home if I found this place. Make one of these and live in it. Whoever owns it, I'll just keep hiding. Yeah,
that's awesome work of art.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on the show. This has been really great. And thank you, Todd, for all you do for the sci-fi community, especially Space 1999. It was great to meet you at Wonderfest a couple years ago, the first time I went.
Yeah, I didn't
see your impressive work.
I didn't show that. That was one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, we used it as, well, you used it as the advertisement for the upcoming show today.
Right.
Yeah. You know how many people asked me where you got that shirt?
That shirt is so cool. I thought that was the original design from you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Just go into Google and you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
So I automatically assume, because since you're such a fabulous artist and a great creator, with original ideas, that is just Bill George written all over it right there.
Well, I bought it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Pretty cool.
No kidding. All right. Well, hey, we really do appreciate you being on the show with us today. It was an absolute honor.
It's been great fun. You guys are awesome, and I can't wait to see you at the next Wonderfest, whenever that is.
Yep. Keep
We'll
your
be
eye
there.
peeled. And the next time, we're also going to be set up in our hotel room, in the expanded hotel room with all the models. You know, the 44s.
It's
or whatever
legendary.
we got going on. Yeah.
It's legendary.
So please don't miss out.
I
Please
gotta
don't
go.
miss out.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. It was wonderful having you, and I'd like to do it again and delve into some other things later on.
Okay. Well, thank you, Todd. Thanks for the invite. It's great seeing you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Have a great
You
Sunday.
too. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was awesome. So,
Sorry,
it
Mark.
looks like you're bringing somebody else in. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, he's been waiting, but I was just trying to keep room to. Once you get
Sure.
4 people in there, it's hard to show things.
Hey, let me do a quick plug-in. Let me do a quick plug-in. So, Jeff Herbal, this book is amazing. I wanted to at least remind folks out there that you can still get a hard copy off Amazon of the Earth Command Technical Guide. I've read this thing cover to cover, and it's just amazing. If you want to expand on your technical notebook or whatever for a collectible perspective, go out there and get it. I think you can get a Kindle version as well. So I would highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah, mine's here
anyway,
somewhere.
That's right. Yeah, you got one, don't you?
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Mark, I'm sure you got one too, right?
The book? No, I've never seen one.
Yeah, go on to Amazon, Earth Command Technical Guide. It's all about 1999 or life after 1990, the moon blowing out the Earth's orbit. It's kind of neat. So I would highly recommend checking it out. I think, like I said, you can get a Kindle version. But I love the hardbound. It's a hardbound. It's not a softbound.
Right.
And it's a really nice book.
I have to say, Bill's Swift models he had is like the Swift model. Oh, I'd love one of those.
Yeah.
I really would.
Alexander Dumas, I still think sells them on eBay from time to time. You might want to pick yourself up some and then get on your long list of Mike Reeder's aluminum, and you put a whole ensemble together. Hey, Todd, why don't you pull yours out and you can actually show it off. It's actually really, really nice.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, did I put it that high? I'm sorry. I wanted to keep it away from the kids. Don't break it. Don't break it. This one's actually a small artworks build. It's really nice. But yeah, has Mike Reeder aluminum all the way around and everything.
I so want one. I will have one day.
Yeah, they're nice. They're real nice. They're kind of heavy too.
Oh, where am I?
But aren't 1612 going to be doing a small version that goes with their new mini Eagles, aren't they?
So they haven't really made any formal announcements on the Swift, but we've been recommending to both Steve Walker, 1612, and Jamie Hood of Round 2 that if you're going to do another kit aside from a Hawk or an Eagle, that the Swift should be the next choice. You probably get more sales out of that one and it's the coolest ship, I think. Brian the Brain was not such a great episode, but the ship itself is just downright cool.
Yeah, the voice was annoying.
Moony Moon, yeah.
Yeah.
But we still love Bernard Cribbins. He's still a great guy.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah, he took the script to where he could, despite the the trials and tribulations going on, production values of the show. But still, there's some amazing ships that were used in season 2. So, and that's one of them. I would love to get me a Super Swift like the scale that Bill had shown off, that he scratch built himself and used Mike Reeder aluminum on that one. Yeah, amazing.
Hook Bill and Jamie up. Say, hey.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So let me show off something this week. Oops, there goes the radar dish. So I am so glad to see that everybody's starting to get their Infernal Machine sets in. And I am so glad that they moved away from this design, that they actually focused more on and did more research on the actual laser tank, right? For your collection. So, because I mean this is it was a good start, but it needed a little bit of improvement. I'm very happy that that they did that level of work. So very happy. Yeah, don't worry. One of these days, I'm going to get the bottom chieftain or something like that to finish this one off. So we'll see what happens. Mark, did you get you an Infernal Machine set?
Yes, I think I was one of the first ones to get one because I was the first one.
That's right. That's right.
And
Must be nice.
I've already been blowing mine up.
You've already started blowing it up.
Mm-hmm. As you will find out later this year.
Ooh, the diorama sets, the diorama shots. Nice.
That's right.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while till I republish a group of those because I want to build a few more alpha buildings.
Nice.
One which is going to be in a bit of state of disrepair, shall we say. So I've got plans. Yeah. But it's just finding the time to do it all. I've got so much I want to do and never have enough time to do it.
You gotta carve out the time best you can.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Same case, since I'm in such a small house now. I bought one of those Amazon photo box studio, like a mini studio thing, and thank goodness it folds all up nicely. But you could actually pull it out and put it in a nice box formation, and that's where I do all my photos now. And it gives off great lighting and everything else like that. It's been such a godsend compared to what I used to do down in my old house in the basement with not so great lighting and all that good stuff. So I kind of want to show these things off as best I can for you guys, mainly for reference and stuff like that.
I've got one too sitting right in here. It's not even unboxed yet, but I'm going to start using it soon.
Yeah, you need to pull that out and do some comparison shots of your sets. So now you have 3 different sets at that scale now: the SMT, the Jim Small builds, and now the 1612 stuff. So
right.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those. I really am. So yeah. Todd, hint.
I know, but Todd doesn't get much time these days.
You're a busy guy.
But yeah, I would love to have one of those Super Swifts that he had. I might just have to find how out the tech, what he used for it and get it built.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the Super Swift will ever be, but I'd love to make a kit to make it available to people. That'd be awesome.
It would. Although whether I'd have the courage to tackle that one myself, because I've managed the Cyclone mystery ship, and I'm still halfway through building the Sidon ship. It's the painting still I've got to get sorted. So I'm learning more. So maybe at some stage I will have the courage to try something else, even more ambitious.
That's awesome.
As I said before, you know me, I'm into the fluffy green stuff. Landscape model, yeah. But anything else is a bit of a challenge for me.
Well, that's probably why the 1612 stuff comes in handy then, because it's already made up for you as a miniature, and you can use that for your fluffy green stuff or whatever.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Well,
listen, Todd, Mark, I got to roll. There's a couple of things that I have to take care of today. But I really do appreciate, Todd, you inviting me and partnering with you to host Bill today. That was awesome. But anyway, I got to let you guys go. So, Mark, it was wonderful seeing you again. Hope you guys stay safe and stay warm. I know we're not out of winter yet, so y'all have a great time, and I'll see you soon. Thanks,
right on.
Guys.
Thanks, Gordon.
Right. Thanks. Is it just us then?
It was a pretty good show today. It went very good. I like Bill. He's done a lot. I didn't know that he had done that much on different programs, even not even sci-fi. I mean, he worked on Evan Almighty. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Quite a wide variety of different sci-fi films. You're right. And I think most of us, I think we've all seen all of those films. My son, Blade, is a huge Blade Runner fan. If he knew that we were here talking to Bill right now, I think my son would have been overjoyed wanting to come in on it. I think it's his all-time favourite film is the original Blade Runner. It was always a bit too dark for me. I don't know, Space 1999, its vision of the future was very bright and optimistic, whereas I always found that, having seen Space 1999, I always found that any other sci-fi where everything was dark and metallically clunky, I could never quite get my head around it and appreciate it as much, because for me, the future was bright, like Jerry Anderson's stuff, Space 1999, UFO, and classic Star Trek wasn't really that dark, was it? I mean, the films were,
Right.
as they became, the interiors of the like inside the Klingon spaceship and so on. Everything was just much darker lit. Alien, when Alien came out, I remember being blown away with that. But again, it was is this the future where in sci-fi films the interiors of spaceships are just going to be dark and clanky, and it didn't quite feel the same as in a nice brightly lit Eagle interior, now did it?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that the Alien probably came as close to giving me the heebie-jeebies as any other movie would have, because they had some really good techniques in there.
Indeed. Yeah, pretty groundbreaking at the time, I think.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I think those of us who are of a certain age, when we were younger, a lot of sci-fi that was on, it was very groundbreaking, and lots of the visuals were very new. And I think in some respects today, when there's so much sci-fi around, and a lot of it is done, with CGI, and a lot of it is fairly dodgy. Right. There's so much sci-fi around today that it doesn't have quite the same impact for me. Do you know what I mean? I don't know whether you feel the same. But back in the 70s and the early 80s, sci-fi just really knocked you for six, because it was just visually so stunning but different. And I don't think today a lot of sci-fi is different. It's all pretty much the same. Do you know what I mean? Because we've all seen so much of it.
Yeah, they've gotten to the point where they're just doing the easy stuff. It's easy to do what the last person in the last movie, not even related, did. So
yes,
but I can watch a lot of sci-fi stuff, so and enjoy it. But yeah, some of them are just a little too far-fetched and not interesting. But I do like that. What's that? The Expanse. I like The Expanse. Have you watched it?
I'm not watching it yet.
Yeah, you probably need to watch it. It was I watched most of the first episode in the first season, and it didn't really click with me very well. But I went back and gave another chance, and as it progresses, it gets much better.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to watch a lot of it on the newer season yet, but because I just constantly either work or sleep, or work or sleep. I get a little food in there sometimes, and I get to put a nice little show in on Sundays. But yeah, I need to watch some more of The Expanse. I really want to watch it and see where it's going.
Have you managed to get through all 26 episodes of UFO yet? Because I know you only started watching that recently, didn't you?
Well, there is. I watched a few episodes on my DVD set, but I can't find it. I've misplaced the DVD, so I gotta find it. I just found my Doctor Who. I'm gonna watch that one. It's the there's so many doctors out there. It's the David Tennant collection. Everybody says that's probably one of the best ones for me to watch. So,
you mean of eras to watch?
Yeah, of eras, of the Doctor himself.
I think it depends on, I think, your age and which Doctor that you saw first.
I haven't seen. I mean, I've never watched an episode.
Haven't you? Interesting.
Sorry.
That's very interesting.
It was not very. I mean, I'm not gonna say it wasn't popular here, but I don't remember seeing it on TV. So that and UFO. I'm trying to get to watch UFO, and I watched some Terra Hawks. That was a little young for me. You have to have been younger, probably to if I'd have watched it when I was younger, maybe I would have been able to. I'm gonna still plow through it, and so because I like some of the ships and stuff, but what's that scary lady? The
Zelda.
Yeah, she's
Zelda. Yeah, I was
20 and
I was 22 when Terra Hawks came out, and of course there was quite a long gap between that in 1982, 83, from the end of Space 1999.
Right.
And for me, Terra Hawks was a huge disappointment, finding that Jerry had to go back to puppets.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed to me at the time, it just seemed like a huge step backwards. I mean, yes, the special effects were pretty good. There were some that were a little bit iffy. Some of the model work, it certainly as the series went on, got increasingly better.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it just seemed it was a bit too juvenile for me as well. And I think towards the end of the series, I think I stopped watching it. I gave up on it. But it was huge amongst children in this country when it was first shown in the UK. And I remember the girlfriend I had at the time. She was a school teacher, primary school teacher, and she used to ask me about it because obviously I had an interest in Jerry Anderson stuff. And so there were snippets of information I could give her that she could take back to the children in her school,
Right.
pass on to them. But I remember her saying how much the kids really enjoyed it. So I think that generation did. But I think certainly us older fans, I think the fans were more split on how they felt about it at the time, and still do.
Yeah, I'm gonna plow through it because I think I'm at the age now. If I watch something and I'm not too thrilled about it right away, let it sink in, and then go back and pick it up again and see how it goes.
I don't think I've ever rewatched hardly any of the episodes of Terra Hawks since they were first on. I might have watched the first one a few times. I did buy it on Blu-ray a couple of years ago when it came out,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that at some stage I will probably get around to watching it again, but I haven't had the time to. So it's still there on the shelf with my other Blu-rays. Because there are certain Blu-rays I just get out constantly and just keep watching over and over again. So obviously Space 1999 and UFO, I watch them to death. They're just amazing. And I was watching today A Matter of Balance because, as you know, it was my birthday today. And my sister got me this.
Really?
Original script.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think I saw you post something about that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. She paid a fortune for it. And my sister loves me. She really does. She knows how much the series means to me. She always has done. So to get this, an original script from the series, she knows she couldn't have got me anything better as a present. Do you want to see that again? Let's see what it looks like. I don't know how well that comes out.
There you go. Back it up out of the light.
Yes, the light's probably a bit strong on it.
Yeah, that's fine. Well,
yeah. In fact, even on the paper, it's been typed, and you can actually see where the ink is actually coming through the paper. Certainly on the full stops and the commas, where there's an intensity of ink, it actually comes through onto the reverse paper. So. Yeah, it's just awesome. So I watched the episode again this afternoon with the script in front of me, so I could go through it and see where the variations were. And there were quite a few minor variations in what's in the script as to what you actually saw in the finished episode. There are a couple of lines of script, I think, which probably were filmed, which were just cut out, obviously, as well. And there were 2 scenes that were switched around in their order in the script. So that was quite fascinating to read through the script. It's the actual original script itself, going through, actually watching the episode again as I did today. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's fun. I'm pretty sure I wished you happy birthday, but happy birthday.
Thank you.
So what are we going on? Almost 2 hours now. Let me throw this in here real quick. My buddy Peter O'Rourke has done some really good t-shirt art for us. This is the newest one. I got a lot of feedback from people seeing the picture of Bill George holding the eagle that he built for his brother, and he had an Alpha Moonbase shirt on. So I figured, hey, somebody might want to get one of these. So in the Spreadshirt, in my Spreadshirt store, you can get it. It's there, and they're relatively cheap. Less than $20. So yeah, if you want one, and there's regular Props and Ships logos in there. There's the funny sayings we're coming up with, like this episode. There's those pictures in there, and it's posted in the Props and Ships group. So hey, get you a shirt or 2, and proudly walk through and see how many people actually know what that means. And believe me, if they don't know, they won't say anything. But the people that know what Moonbase Alpha was, they'll be like, dude, where'd you get that? So anyway, there's my little plug for Props and Ships merchandise. Everybody should have one. Oh, and you can also get Todd's Corner shirt there.
Oh, wonderful.
I did that just for me so I could wear it while I was doing the show. But it's in the store if somebody really wants one. No big deal. So yeah, I enjoyed having Bill on. He was I told him it was an adventure for me because he's done some things. I could do a show for the next probably 6 more shows with him to cover all the other stuff that I didn't get to ask him today. And I'm sure a lot of the fans out there, I saw we were up over 50 people online watching. And I don't know if that helps. I don't know if that counts the YouTube watchers, but it was a good show.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Good show.
Yeah, it would be good to have Bill back. But Todd, have you got any other people that you're talking to try to get to come on so we can get some more?
Trying, yeah. Obviously, I'm gonna get Brian Johnson. He's a big one.
Oh yes, yeah. I'd love to hear from Brian.
I've reached out to Nick Alder, and he's seen my messages because we're friends on Facebook, but he's not answered. So I don't know if he just doesn't want to mess with it, or if he's just kind of waiting to see how this thing goes. This is only our 6th episode, and this is probably the best one we've had so far because of my technology upgrades. So I know you had to get a new was the camera.
It is. It's a new camera. Yes.
Yeah, me too. I got a new camera. I got a new computer. I got a whole new computer. So I've got dual screens, and I've got the little camera that sits on top. And it's got good clarity from what I can tell.
Cool.
So, but yeah, I'd like to get those guys. Gary Kerr would be pretty cool to have on. I can. We'll do stuff with Nick, and I'd like to get maybe the, Suzanne Peterson and some of the actors that were in Space 1999. But I'd also like to get other sci-fi shows out there, because I can, we can do other things just besides 1999. Like we're broadcasting in the Star Trek props and ships group now too. So, and that was a big reason, because Bill obviously loves both Trek and 1999 and Blade Runner, and so I think it was a good way to go. I wouldn't mind getting some Thunderbird stuff or builders, or obviously Brian Johnson can speak to all that stuff because he was in on that stuff. But yeah, I'd like to get some other people. Probably once a month I'd like to have a big name like Bill. That'd be awesome.
It would indeed.
The other, like next week, we'll probably just have a get together on online and talk about what's going on in the modeling community and all that stuff, just like we did the very first one. So, but when I do the big names, I'll probably just keep it to 3 people on the screen here, because it helps show pictures and all that stuff. It gets too crowded.
Yeah, it worked well tonight.
Todd's leaving you in the green room, but I was just trying to give as much focus to Bill as I could.
No, it was absolutely right. No, because it was fascinating listening to him, and as you said, being able to put up, make the screen larger, so we could see a bit more detail of what he was showing. But that eagle he had, I mean, the size of it. Yeah. When you said, stand up next to it, and I thought, how big is this really going to be? And it was like, wow.
Yeah, I was amazed.
That was just awesome, the size of it.
His model building abilities are spectacular. Yes. And I have to admit, when I first saw the Sci-Fi Air Show stuff, I was like, really? Where is this place? I got to go see this, because I thought somebody, built these things. And of course, I was like, really? But now I really like his work, and the fact that he keeps adding something new to it.
Indeed. Todd, the original Enterprise model, it was only a few years ago when I saw a comparison photograph of it that I realized that it's the size that it is. And I never dreamt it was that big.
Oh, the 1350?
No, the original one. Yeah, the original ship that they use for filming. As I said, the size of it. How came, and why was it so large? Yeah.
Big.
How come they needed something that large? Was it just the electrics to work the lights inside it?
Oh, I'm sure it made it easier to film back then. I mean, that was the 60s. So, I mean, 66 is when it came out, but they were filming, I think, maybe a year or better before that. So
yes, yeah.
I would imagine it was because they needed it to be big, so they could make it look, I mean, yeah, I don't know the reason, but they sure did make it big, and I'm glad they did. It worked out.
And I'm assuming that the effect for it traveling through space, they must have put the camera on a dolly like Brian Johnson did with Eagle in Space 1999, so that it was the camera that moved, not the spacecraft, because moving something like that must have been pretty
Yeah.
impossible. So it must. Yeah. So I take it was the camera that moved, not the spaceship.
It was up on a kind of a. It was on a stand, and it was kind of angled, and you could see shots where they were doing it from below. Just made it look huge.
Yes.
It's a big one. It's beautiful when it's lit up. I mean, anytime that I go to Washington and it's open to view, I'm going to go. I don't care if I got to make a special trip and I'm going to have to stay all night because I made the trip to go see it. But yeah, it's worth it. She's a big one.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and then I've got the Mark Myers built me the 1 in 350 model, and I'm telling you, if you look at it and look at the lighting on it, it's an actual replica.
Yes, I've seen the photos of Mark's replicas, and they're just
beautiful.
The other week, didn't we? You had on the guys from round 2, and they had a new model of the Enterprise that's coming out.
Yeah, it's rebuilt
as well. I think I'm definitely going to try and get one of those.
Yeah, it's pricey, not in my eyes. You know, it's around $500, but for the size and the painting, I mean, it's going to be dead on. Also,
yes.
It's been delayed a little bit, I think, because of the shipping from China and all that stuff, but it's coming soon.
Do you know when it's coming out? Is it this year or is it?
It was supposed to be February, but I think it's been pushed back a month or two.
Right. Okay.
Cool. I don't know if it's been. I know at least into March. I don't know if it's gone further than that or not. Well, here's a good shot that'll show you just how big that original one is. Let me see if I can. Boom. Here we go. Look how big that thing is.
Yes, indeed.
It's pretty neat.
Also, what surprised me, again, it wasn't until a few years ago that I got to see some of the photos taken on set of them filming Moonbase Alpha, the model set, with the guys standing close to it, and you could see the actual scale of the buildings, pretty much the same as the Shadow Moonbase model on UFO. I was just gobsmacked at how large that was, the Shadow Moonbase.
Right.
I never dreamt it was that big. That came as quite a surprise to me, as the size of some of the models. And I guess I never really got to. It was only in recent years, and pardon my ignorance, that I came to understand what studio scale models actually means. Because it never occurred to me. I think all the years I was younger, it was just how large, to make that detail, I suppose, visible, that the models were.
Yeah, I think one of my questions for Brian when I have him on is going to be, how long did it take you guys to build Moonbase Alpha?
Oh, you mean the original, the big tabletop model, like Marco, who did his a couple of years ago. Yeah,
and that's half scale, I believe.
Yes.
James Winch owns the original model.
Yes.
I think he takes it once in a while to some of the shows there in the UK. I'm gonna, if this thing works out with the convention in 2022 and we're allowed to go and everything works out, I'm going, because I'm going to see these. I want to see Eagles 1 and 2 and the those original items that were used in the show, and meet some of the folks over there across the pond from me, where you live.
Yes, yeah. And I'd love to see some of the originals again after having seen them as I did back in 1977.
Well, that's been a while.
What? Sorry.
That's been a while since you saw him.
Yes, it is. Yes, when I was 14 years of age.
Yeah, I was 11.
Late. I'm 58 today. Yeah. It's a long time to be a fan of a series. Do you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those people that probably looks back on television from yesteryear with rose-tinted spectacles, because for me, obviously, Space 1999 and UFO, I don't think for me anything's ever going to better those.
No.
And you look back on stuff like that, and one of the things I say today when I have arguments with people who say, oh, well, the television that's on today is the best thing ever, blah, 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 particularly younger people, they think that reality TV is the best thing that's ever been invented. And I say to them, well, is somebody going to be watching, Britain's particular episodes of Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent in 50 years' time, episodes of 50 years ago?
Right.
No, they're not. A lot of modern television today, I don't think is going to be being watched in 50 years' time as repeats on whatever channels, whatever.
Exactly.
It's the longevity of something that's really so good. And I think obviously the type of programs that we like, the Jerry Anderson stuff, Star Trek, and particularly the original series, I think those are going to be around forever, because there's always going to be somebody who really appreciates the originality more than anything of what they were, what they represented. And as I said before in this conversation, I think a lot of modern stuff doesn't really have much originality. And that's why I don't think it's going to have as long-lasting effect, to be the type of iconic shows that people will still be watching in 50 years' time.
The directors and all that stuff, like Kubrick and all those guys that did all these sci-fi movies, and they're moving along, and we're losing some of them because they're older. You don't find those guys that want to combine the model work with the CGI and all that stuff. I don't like any movies that are just 100% CGI. They're no fun. They're not believable.
No, I would agree with you.
How in the world did Brian Johnson get that eagle to take off so nicely and smooth and land so smooth off of strings?
Yeah, with the jets actually working.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I try filming the product Enterprise UFO that I've got, in some of the videos that I've done and I've put onto Facebook, people say to me, well, you need to get some of the dust swirling as it comes into land.
Right.
Okay, well, first of all, how could I do that? The model is so small that even if I had something like a straw to blow slightly off camera at the dust, exactly, that model is going to start swaying, and even the slightest amount, of movement really gets over exaggerated on film. So although it's in principle, it sounds like a great idea to try. I haven't tried it yet, but I will do. But I do expect that just putting that amount of wind, even directed as best you can with something like a straw, if you can still get a plastic straw, because they don't make them anymore, and we're not supposed to have plastic straws now. Actually make some dust swirl up underneath a UFO as I'm dropping it into shot to land. Yeah.
All that stuff, how they worked out all that stuff it's just amazing.
I mean, we know how Brian Johnson and the team did the jets on the Eagles as they came into land or take off. They had the mechanisms inside the ships themselves. But when you watch
down, you'd think it would move it left to right or
yes, yeah. But when you watch some episodes of UFO and you see one of the UFOs landing, you can actually see the swirl of dust underneath it. Now, how they achieve that, I don't know.
It's got to be something. Somebody's blowing something somewhere.
It must have been
Something underneath, kind of just enough air puff to make it. It's weird. I don't know. We'll find out. Well, those are some good questions for us to ask.
Indeed. Yes. For another time.
Nick Alder, if I can ever get him on.
Yes.
See, there's a lot of stuff that I bet Nick remembers, that because he was more in the model shop and in the production part than maybe Brian remembers. So
yes,
get some more information out of him.
Yes, indeed.
It would be awesome if we could get people like Phil Ray and those guys, back in the day on that stuff. It would be interesting, but I guess he's in a nursing home. Probably be hard to get at him right now with the COVID.
Yes, yeah.
The coof. I was just looking through the group, and it's amazing what we've done in 6 years. On March 15th will be our 6th birthday, and we've got guys doing interior sets for us. This is the 22-inch that Steve Smith's building right now. I mean, just the stuff that we've been able to, for garage kits to bring out, let alone, what, round 2 has done for us in 1612 and all that stuff. I just, Alex Jackson, Century Castings, this is his kit. I mean, it takes time to make these things. I mean, garage kits have been around for a long time, and they've come a long way. So I just think it's neat. I've got one of his kits in one of mine, and this is the kind of stuff I try to do when I bring kits to the group. I have to be very careful in mindset, because I don't want to do anything that round 2 is planning on doing later, but this kind of stuff, and then the guys that build them, and they're, it's a talent, obviously, painting them up and everything. It's just pretty cool.
It is. I couldn't do it.
I'm trying to get my mojo back. Some of my techniques are, I can't get them back, or I'm just not. I'm getting older, so I'm slower at remembering how to do this stuff. But man, we've 6 years since we started this group, and I like where it's at now. Some people will say, "Oh, well, it's not. 12,000 people. Whoop-de-doo. There's only they're not true fans or whatever." I don't want to hear that BS. A true fan can be a fan of the show. It can be a fan of the artists, the actors. It can be fans of the Eagle, because a lot, there's been a lot of people say that the Eagle was a character in, part of a character in the show. So true fans are anybody that likes anything about the show, or all of the show. I mean, I like the show itself. I like the actors, obviously. And I can watch season 2, no problem. Yes, I prefer season 1 because the way it was put together, but true fans don't have to be the ones that have been, what I want to say, in all the older conventions and all that stuff. I didn't know that Space 1999 had so many fans in it until I did this group. Actually, I found a lot of people in the Eagle Transporter forum. That's how I actually found out there was, actually somebody else out there that liked Space 1999 besides me. So to say that you're a true fan and I'm not, or vice versa, no way. I don't want to hear that BS. The model builders are just as true of a fan as the people that are posting the pictures of the the actors and the you know, in the show, and pictures of what's going on, and you know, screen grabs and stuff like that. They're just as big a true fan as me or anybody else is. So
back in 1976, when I first started watching Space 1999, and it was year 2 that I saw first, I thought I was the only one in those days who used to have, before we had video recorders that we could afford,
right.
I used to audio tape
Yep.
the episodes and put a microphone up to up to the speaker of the television. And then I think the black and white portable set that I had in my bedroom, there was a jack slot in it, which my dad worked out how to get it to work. And so we got a lead, and I plugged it straight into from the cassette recorder into the television, so that you could actually then talk, you know, if somebody was talking in the room,
Right.
and it didn't pick up the sound of their voice. So
how many of those recordings said, "Hey, Todd, get your room cleaned up. You don't have time to be doing that. Mom, quiet."
yes, yeah.
Your arse in there and get it clean. Yes, ma'am.
As I said, I thought I was the only one doing it, but over the last few years, again on Facebook, seeing so many other people that were doing the same, desperate to hold on to the memories of their favourite shows, which, let's face it, back in those days, in the 70s, we only ever saw the programme once. There was no daily stripping, weekly stripping, you know, immediate repeats, plus 1 hours. You know, if you were very lucky if you got to see a repeat maybe in a few years' time, and that would only be the once. And that was it. And the programme was gone forever, as far as you were concerned.
Yeah.
There were so many things that never got repeated. I mean, obviously, over there in the States, I know that you have so many series that go into you call syndication, and you would get to see them again and again and again. But here in Britain, that wasn't the case. The BBC would occasionally repeat some of their best stuff, and some of their really, really best stuff is always on. Like the comedy series Dad's Army just gets repeated every couple of years. It's never off our screens. But most of what they put on, you rarely got to see repeated. Even classic Doctor Who back in the day, I think in the 70s, they did, in the John Pertwee era, they did do what they called an omnibus edition, which was repeated so many weeks or months after the original serial episodes were shown. They would put together, an omnibus edition that was shown. But apart from that, usually you'd never got to see Doctor Who repeated, and certainly ITV, who used to show a lot of American series like The Bionic Woman, The $6 Million Man, Logan's Run, The Man from Atlantis, they only ever screened them once, and that was it. You never got to see them repeated. So once they were shown in the 70s, that was it. You forgot about it. You would never get to see it again.
Right.
You know, so that's why I think that, again, when we in the UK got to understand that you guys in America had this thing called syndication, that meant that you get to see some of your favorite series again and again, we'd think, oh God, you're so lucky.
Yeah. 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 We are so spoiled now. We've got DVDs, we got Blu-rays. You can go on, you know, maybe not Netflix. I don't remember which one, Hulu or whatever. There's programs that run, you know, stuff over and over again. Trek, 1999, you know, so we can watch it over and over again, and we see things now as we're older. But if you in the 70s, I missed Space 1999. I just didn't know the following was out there. So I didn't know anything about the conventions, you know. Boy, would I have liked to have been in that convention at the 1999 year, and then 2012 would have been awesome too. I didn't find out until 2013, and I was already in my late 40s. But to be on Facebook and be able to find 12,000 people that are also fans, and I know there's more out there, and I know some of the 12,000 that are in this group aren't as avid, active as I am and you are, but whoever was in those earlier years, they were lucky, but they're not any more of a true fan than you or I.
Yes.
I'm just doing what I can today to bring Space 1999 and some of these, some of this merchandise to the people that I can. It doesn't have anything to do with, I'm definitely not getting rich off of anything. I'm selling little bitty kits and everything. And, but I've reached out to a lot of people. I mean, you're in the UK, Andrew Ray's in Australia. I mean, it's all over the world now. When I first started this group in 2015, I was amazed that I had 300 people at one point, and it just kept going up and up and up. I'm like, there's no way to people. Some people are just doing this because they want to be in a group. But I've met a lot of cool people, and I just want to bring everybody together to see one of our favorite shows is still around. And like I said, I'm a Trekkie. I like Trek, but somebody's already done that with Trek. Nobody had done this with Space 1999. So that was my choice because, nobody had done it before. And here we are doing Todd's Corner on, 3 platforms, 2 in Facebook and 1 YouTube. So, it's fun. It's my hobby. It's not, I'm not the almighty, whatever Space 1999 God, because I've been called that by people that, want to portray me as some, egotistic person, which I'm not. But
no, you're not.
I'm a fan.
12,000 people following, is for a group is pretty good. And as you said, I think there are those who will be looking in on the group every week to see what's coming up, what people are discussing, people showing off fantastic model work, which I love seeing everybody's model creations.
Yeah.
I get such a joy out of seeing something new. And when somebody is experimenting with something a bit different, that's great. Pushing the boundaries of what we saw on the show, expanding on what we saw on the show. I love it all. I just love it all.
Yeah, me too. And I don't like somebody telling me I'm not a true fan, or telling you if I'll go to bat for you or anybody else in this group. We're all true fans. Some may be more, what do you want to call it? Infatuated, which is probably me. Look behind me. I've got all kinds of eagles. Everybody says, why you got so many eagles? It's the same eagle. No, it's not. There's variations, and then there's add-on pieces, and, so, sure, they're all about the same shape, but some are bigger, some are smaller. It's fun. I enjoy it.
Every eagle is sacred. Every eagle is good. Yes.
My collection is not any better than the guy that's got 3 eagles on his desk in his office. That's not what it's all about. So I've always wanted to say I have a museum of kits that we have been available over the years, like the AB Eagle, which I've got back there. The Replicas Unlimited Eagle, I've got back there. Then we got the Product Enterprise. We've got, Round 2's Eagles. We've got 1612. We've got all kinds. 3D printed. We've got, there's all kinds of stuff back there in that collection. And So if somebody says, what was a AB Eagle? I never saw that. I've got all the information and wanted to show somebody. The museum.
Yeah, it's cool.
Come see it. And anybody wants to come over to my house and hang out and talk about this stuff, I'm game. I won't keep anybody away or anything like that. So it's all for everybody.
Cool.
I don't sometimes when I'm showing stuff in my collection, I kind of feel that somebody might think I'm being like big-headed or I'm boasting, but I'm not boasting. I'm showing people that may have just joined the group that day or in that week or in that month that hasn't seen something like that it's out there and you can get it. I get a lot of messages every day. Hey, I saw something in your collection, or I heard something about something. What's going on with that? And how can I get a hold of it?
With me, I think it's, I'm like you, I've got a passion for the series. And I think that people who have not seen or heard of the series before deserve a chance to get to know about it through people like us, because who knows, it might be something that they really like.
Right.
And I do sometimes worry about some, younger people in this current generation that I see, who have a very narrow-minded view of what they think is good entertainment. And certainly I know some 16 and 18-year-olds who I've come across who just seem to think that they won't watch anything that's older in terms of years than their age.
Right.
No matter how good it might be, they're just not interested in seeing it. And to a certain extent, my son was like that. My son is now 28. And I haven't seen him for several years. But he was like that, where he just would not consider even watching anything
right.
I certainly made before the year 2000. He wasn't interested in it.
My son's the same way.
Yeah, it's just like,
I can't believe you like that show. Okay.
They cut themselves off from
Right.
so much potential enjoyment and appreciation and pleasure that we got out of the really good stuff that was around, in our younger years, that we still have a passion for today. And like I said, who's going to want to watch, 50-year-old episodes of America's Got Talent and whatever, and The X Factor and The Voice?
Yeah.
Masked Singer. Oh, please.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Give me a break.
Yeah.
I agree with you. People have got to, we are getting older. There's no fact we're getting older. So why do we want to just keep all this to ourselves and not let the next generation carry it on? That's my whole thing. Get the information out there, get the show out there. And I get messages from newbies. I mean, hey, I came across your post, and I went and watched one of the shows, and yeah, I liked it. And so they become fans. That's what we need. We need the younger generation to keep this going now when we're gone.
Very much so.
So that's my whole thing with people that don't want to give information on, building the ships and stuff like that. Now, there are some cases where I understand, like, the Chris Trices and stuff like that have done this for years. Boy, I would have loved to meet Chris 20 years ago, but he's invested a lot of time and effort in getting all the information. So that's more understandable. Just don't give it willy-nilly, but hey, put it in a book or put it somewhere that something happens to you you pass it on to one of your very trusted friends, and we still have the information. You know, I just don't want it to disappear, because that man's got some serious Space 1999 information. I'm sure he's got other genres too, but he's very knowledgeable when it comes to 1999, and obviously he's handled a lot of the original screen use models. He's fixed them fixed broken parts on them from Martin Wiley and stuff. So yeah, but what I would have loved to know about this in my 30s, boy, I could have. I didn't have any. Let's see. In my late 20s, I had my first kid, but I could have probably gone to some of these conventions that were going on if I'd have known about them. I didn't know that.
Yeah, didn't know they were happening. Didn't know anything about them.
Yeah, good for you people out there that were able to keep in touch and keep Space 1999 alive. You did your part, but even just because I'm newer to the fandom, I've always been a fan, doesn't mean you're a better, more true fan than I am. It just means you've been around longer, so you know where things are at. And I'm still finding places that I didn't know about. So on another note, you guys know I sell the 31-inch Hawk, and one of my good friends in the UK, Great Britain, bought one, and he is it's not even been 2 weeks, and he has got it completely primered, and just about, probably by the time I'm talking now, he's probably got it painted. But look at that thing. That's the first one that I've seen built from the kit that I sell. And that's the 31-inch long Hawk. And he is rolling through it like it's nothing.
Cool.
I don't know if I can. Let me see if I've got. Yeah, there it is before he got it painted. And dummy me shorted him. I believe it was that part right there. And he had the original kit parts, and he was able to put all that together and still come out, looking like it's supposed to. Look at that. That's amazing. It's people like this in this group that I'm just, amazed by. Gary McMasters is the one that's doing this. And I've got a few of his models in my collection. He sent to me, and these type of guys right here amaze me. And everybody has more sci-fi likes than just 1999, but Gary wouldn't have this right here in his possession had we not come along. So I believe we're helping keep it alive. So that's my whole goal. Keep Space 1999 in everybody's face, so the new people can see it, and whatever attracts them, the ships, the actors, the show itself, whatever. I don't care. The music, people love the music.
Me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I have to say, there's often this thing about, do you prefer Barry Gray's music or Derek Wadsworth's music? And just like there's the do you like year one better than year two debate, you get people that fall into one or either camp. I'm one of those people. I like both equally.
Right.
They both have merit. And I know all the criticisms that there often are of Derek Wadsworth's music for year two. But you have to remember that 1976, 77, when the series was being made and he was writing that music, it was right in that sort of disco era where that type of music was just all the rage. And for me, it definitely fitted, and to me it still does, it fits the more action, faster pacing of the year 2 episodes than Barry Gray's music potentially could have done. That's not to say that Barry Gray couldn't have done, you know, a different type of music maybe that would have fitted it fine, but certainly Derek Wadsworth's music just always blew me away. And I think that was one of the first theme tunes that really got me into appreciating television theme music.
Right.
I loved that. It was one of the first theme tunes that my father recorded onto audio cassette for me. So that I loved that music, the opening theme music of Space 1999 that my father put onto an audio cassette tape. I literally listened to that tape till the tape broke, because I would play it, wind it back, play it, wind it back, play it, wind it back, play it. And I must have driven my family berserk, playing the same piece of music over and over again, because it just in my head.
I did the same thing.
I was playing out the visuals, you know, the visual opening of year 2 of Space 1999.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also why we used to audio tape the episodes, was a way of preserving the memory of that particular episode, and as many as we could get onto audio cassette tape. And I don't know about you, but you know what I used to do? I used to just lie back on my bed, switch on the audio tape, and then in my head I would try to bring back the visuals that I remembered seeing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the music, obviously, and the dialogue, the actors speaking, would help you to do that, to keep it alive in your head. But the difference when domestic video recorders became affordable, I mean, we got our first one, I think it was the end of 1982. The difference that made, suddenly to be able to record your favorite program, to then preserve it, to be able to watch it whenever you wanted to watch it afterwards. I mean, that was just so cool.
Yeah.
And then in the early mid 1980s. And again, I don't think today's generation realize, you know, younger people, they don't realize what a huge step that was for fans of television series to be able to record their program. It was just novel, it was new, but of course the main thing was the program needed to be actually on. And in my case, I was living in Wales, where the local ITV station would not buy year 2 of Space 1999.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't get to see it until 1984. As I saw the first 9 episodes, because I was living outside of Wales in a different region, and then when we moved to Wales, I waited for it to come on there, and it didn't, and it was so upsetting. It was also upsetting to Lou Grade, because I wrote to him, I think it was around about 1980, and complained to him that HTV would not buy year 2 of Space 1999. And I had a lovely letter back from him saying, yes, he was also really frustrated with HTV. But also another of the ITV regions wouldn't buy it, and that was Southern, who served the south of England. They also refused to buy year 2 of Space 1999. So that was a quarter of the UK was denied being could not get to see year 2 of Space 1999. And that was one of the reasons at the time in early 1977 that Lou Grade decided to pull the plug on a year 3.
Yeah.
And it's so often quoted, you know, on the Facebook groups, that the reason why year 3 didn't happen was because the money was taken for Raise the Titanic. And I have to keep correcting people. No, that is incorrect. Raise the Titanic didn't go into pre-production until a year or so after the decision was taken to cancel Space 1999. And it was, and I remember I was quite surprised by this. When I bought the DVD set of Return of the Saint, on the commentaries on one of the episodes, the guys talking, I think it was one of the producers, confessed that it was the fact that Return of the Saint was doing its pre-production filming, early filming of in Italy, location film and location work, and it went rapidly over budget in the spring of 1977. that Lou Grade made the decision because he preferred to fund new series, and he really had a lot of faith in Return of the Saint, because the original Saint with Roger Moore had been so popular that he decided to take the money from year 3 of Space 1999 and put it into Return of the Saint. And that's why Space 1999 year 3 and the Maya spin-off didn't happen. And every time I see it on Facebook, this myth, because somebody else wrote, you know, the comment, the comment came about from Martin Landau, as I understand it, after Raise the Titanic came out in 1980. And he, like so many people, thought the film was awful. And he just made a joke. Correct me, anybody, if I'm wrong. This is what I remember reading at the time. But he joked that the budget that was spent on marketing that film would have been the same as would have paid for the 3rd season of Space 1999. And his quote appears to have been taken and changed into being, it was the money that was taken from Space 1999 to fund the film. And that wasn't the case, because the years are wrong, because the decision to cancel Space 1999 was made in May 1977. Well, when you consider that Raise the Titanic didn't come out until 1980, I think they were probably filming it, or pre-production would have been 1978, 1979 at least. It wouldn't have been as early as May 1977. So that's what I believe is what happened. Yeah. So, but there you go. And so it was, and that's one of the reasons why, knowing that Lou Grade said it was HTV and Southern's decision, they were UK-based channels that decided not to take Space 1999. They had the same problem, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, over in the States, that the major networks again went, as they did with year 1. And it was that sort of, you know, oh, do we buy it? Do we not buy it? Maybe not. Again, all of that contributed to year 3 not happening, which I think was an incredible shame. And I know certainly when I met Jerry Anderson in July 1977, he was bitterly disappointed about the fact that they just had the news, you know, a month or so earlier, that there was not going to be any more of the series.
Well, that's nice to hear, because I was under the same impression. So now that makes more sense.
Oh, you thought it was Raise the Titanic as well, did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
I learn something new every day, so it does not surprise me at all.
It's on the DVD set. Well, I got the Australian DVD set that came out first of Return of the Saint. And on the commentary, the guys on there actually confess that it was their series that took Space 99 year 3's budget, and they were almost embarrassed to say it, because they said they know that they're going to get the Space 1999 fans on their backs over it.
Right.
They were the ones to blame. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm glad you told us that, because now I've got I can answer some of those questions too. Yeah. I'll say go back and watch episode 6 towards the end, and it'll explain to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Couple guys have said something. Let's see. Thanks, Wes Sargent. Wes, thank you for your kind comments. Yeah, the model guys are just as big a fan as anybody else. Let's see. Bernard Fathom says it was cheaper to lower the Atlantic.
That's often been quoted. Yeah.
So yeah, they yeah. Debbie Reeder said they grew up in the UK, but the first conventions that they went to was in the USA. It's a shame that we didn't know about the fandom when we still lived in the UK. Yeah, it's the same here. You know, the first 2 conventions I went to, I helped plan, and I think were an absolutely success. even though some people think that we should have done things differently. Ultimately, it was us three, Roy, Gordon, and I, that had as the planners, did what we could. And I guarantee you, those fans that came to that convention went home happy, and they enjoyed it. I saw them, I met them, I saw it in their faces. We ate dinners together, we drank a few beers together, everything, And there was people from the UK, from everywhere, all over the world at that convention. Both of them in 2017, Alpha 2017, and Breakaway 2019. They were awesome, and I was glad to be part of them. But on that note, the next convention, I'm going to be a fan, because I missed out on a lot of stuff by having to be the planner and help run it. Because no matter what happens, I don't care how, if it was the very first convention all the way to the last two, things went wrong during the convention, or people weren't, guest stars were not where they were supposed to be at what time. So, things happen. You got to kind of adjust and go, and, but it was fun planning. I'm glad that I did it, but I ain't doing it again. I'm going to go as a fan. And I promise whoever is running the next convention, I will not Monday afternoon or morning quarterback you afterwards. I'm not going to say, well, you should have done this and you should have done that, and you're not a true fan because you didn't do this, and people got this and got that. I'm not going to sit there and do that. I'm going to enjoy it as a fan and say, well done. I'm ready for the next one. So, you know who you are. And I'm done with that. But I enjoy what I do. I do this for the fans. I'm not in it to make money. I very rarely ever break even on anything I do. If I sell something, or if I work with somebody on a kit, my money goes into that first to get the stuff done, as in any other garage kit modeler. Alex Jackson, Robert Burns, all those guys, they had to pay to make that, to make those kits. And it just doesn't, just go, I think I'll make a Swift kit. Poof. I have a Swift kit for sale. No, there's a whole lot more behind the scenes that happens to that. So casting, and it's hard to find people that are reliable to do that for you, because I don't have the time to do it. I'm just I'm the point man, So people like Alex Jackson over there in the UK, that's what his job is. That's how he lives. And it burns me to the bone when somebody says, that's just too expensive. Well, then I guess you're not going to get one, because that guy put his heart and soul and sweat to, design it, to, make the masters, and then you got to make the molds, then you got to cast them, then you got to clean them up. And then the biggest part of that whole deal is hope to God somebody wants to buy them. Because if you make 25 Comlocks or 25 side-on kits, it doesn't do any good for them to be sitting on a shelf and nobody wants them. And believe me, that's a sucky thing to have done to, you put all this effort into these things, and then all of a sudden, that's out of my price range. Or I would rather you say it's out of my price range than that's just too expensive, because it just depends on, your, how much you want it. But, I'm not going to drop my prices because somebody thinks it's too expensive. That's just asinine. I have to at least recoup my money. It'd be awesome to break even. I've done very well with the side-on ships, and everybody that's bought one out there, thank you very much. But I got 16 in stock now, so get the buy-in. That's my little toot for the garage kit model guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to go because I'm getting really tired. So
I bet it's pretty late over there in your.
right now, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm ready to go get some dinner and relax for the evening. But this has been an awesome show, and I think I think the quality is going up every time we have one. So,
yeah. Thanks, Todd. It's been really great, and yeah, thanks to Bill for coming on and telling us about his career. It's been really great, and as he did say, he will come back, didn't he? So, as you said, hopefully he's going to come back at some stage, and we can hear some more from him.
Yeah, that's I'd like to have him back and some other people. I'm working hard on it. So, suggestions that who'd you like to see on the show? Send them to me. Either message me or email's better because it doesn't go away so fast. I can put it in a folder and work on it and keep looking at it. But man, the messages, I get so many messages a day, the person that messaged me first in the morning is 25 down the list by the time I get back to bed that night. So email's best. So
Yeah.
You sleep well, Mr. Mark.
I will
work. I like your work that you're doing and posting.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I love doing it, and I love sharing it with people.
Yeah, thank you.
It's what we all do. You know, we just love sharing what we do, our passion for this series.
Exactly. All right. Good night, sir. Good night, everybody out there in 1999 in Trek land. Be seeing you soon, and I'll keep you updated.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
See ya.